there's been a lot going on in the news, especially this month with a lot of infant deaths. And I know that you were the one behind the Moses Law. So can you just give us like what is Moses Law for those who don't know?
Certainly. So, the Moses Law was enacted in 1999. And it started out with Dr. John Richardson, a pediatrician in Fort Worth, that volunteered his time to the Edna Gladney Home for Adoption. And he was seeing that there were babies being left and that there was not a resolution to help people to know that there are alternatives to keep your baby and put them up for adoption. And so we started looking at the statistics at that time. There was no social media, so it was just through the newspapers that we started researching to see about the problem and found, and actually at that time, Houston had a problem also during that time. There were other places in the state, but Houston had had quite a problem for several months. So we worked with Dr. Richardson and put this project together so that there were places, and we started off with fire stations with 24-hour EMTs. And so the baby could be dropped off at the fire station, handed over to someone because you don't want to just leave it. And the legislation basically was saving two lives. It was to save the baby's life and also the mother's, because in the past, if you relinquished your child, it was considered abandoning it. And so the mother would be prosecuted even if she did the right thing. And so we changed that law as long as the child was unharmed, and went to a fire station that was 24 hours EMT, which the yellow sign behind me designates those. And so that's how it started out. And then as we progressed, we worked on it several sessions. And we also worked with the County Attorneys Association to make sure everything was legal and done correctly. We worked with them. And then later we got hospitals to come on board. And so also hospitals that have an emergency room 24 hours a day are eligible also to have the signs for someone to take their child and hand the child over. And then now we also have emergency, when you have these emergency clinics, if they're a 24-hour a day operation with an EMT, they also are eligible. So those are the different places that are eligible to receive a child. And there's no questions asked. They will be asked if they would like to leave some medical information of their family or whatever, but it is not required. And as long as the child is healthy and not in any harm, the mother can relinquish her child and it'll go to Child Protective Services and look for an adoption foster home, then to also have a new life and a new home to be adopted. The other thing is, it's so important about handing over the child, not only for the child's life to make sure nothing happens to it, but sometimes the mother has delivered herself and has medical needs. And so that's also an issue. The EMTs can check her and say, is there anything you need? And she does not have to comply, but there's that option, because a lot of times, there will be a mother that has had their baby on their own and they do need medical attention. And so that's why it was started. We passed it in 1999. It was bipartisan bill, and we did have some opposition that we worked during the hearings and things, but it was a bipartisan bill as far as getting passed. And then Governor George W. Bush signed it into law in 1999. And immediately we started receiving calls. We did not know at the time that Texas was the very first state ever to enact this legislation. And we started receiving calls from other states and worked on it for several years. And now all 50 states have some sort of Baby Moses legislation.
So how does baby Moses stand out from other states, I guess, in the state of Texas? And then also, how many facilities, if you're like specifically in the Houston area, how many facilities do they have to have the baby safe site like on outside of the facility so someone can know, like if there's a mother who would like to give up her child or relinquish her child,
Yes.
um, like they have to have the eligibility to do it, correct?
Absolutely, yes, because it's not legal if the place is not eligible, and those are the requirements. The sign needs to be on the building. A lot of the hospitals have them like on the door coming into an emergency room, and it may be stenciled. And we had the funds to distribute signs for 10 years, and so we distributed them, sent them. We do not have the funding anymore, but anyone that calls us, we have a place in Austin that has done the signs for all these years, and we send them there, and then they can have them made and then shipped to them and put on their building. Yes, they do need to have the sign. So that's what's showing. That's what we need to show everyone. If you see this sign, this is a place that has all of the requirements and is a legal place to take your child if you cannot take care of it. And it is, up to 60 days is the age. I mean, you cannot drop off your 2-year-old, of course, but it's up to 60 days. And the reason for that is it's hard to know exactly how old a baby is, as Dr. Richardson said, because the umbilical cord drops off at a certain time and not all are at the same time. So that's why we have a 60-day limit, because these are for mothers that are desperate, don't know what to do, they're confused, and they just need help. And we want to help them to save themselves and their baby for sure.
So with I guess you can't just go to any fire station, any hospital, or any standing 24-hour facility. Like it has to have the baby safe baby site.
Right, because like if you talk about fire stations, there are volunteer fire stations that are not 24 hours and they don't have a EMT 24 hours. So in the law, you have to have these requirements because you don't want someone to take a child and drop it off someplace and then someone doesn't find it till the next day and it's too late. So no, they need to have this. They need to have the sign that designates that they are part of this, and that shows that they have met all the requirements when they had their sign put up.
And what exactly are the requirements? Could you run us down like the requirements that a mother would have to follow and meet to relinquish her child?
There's really no requirements for the mother except that the child is healthy. As long as something has not happened to the child, that they had been hurt or harmed in some way. If the child is healthy, she walks in to give. You can't just leave the child at the doorstep. You go in, and someone will come that's an EMT and talk to you, take the child, ask if she needs help or if she wants to leave any information. And if everything looks good, then that's up to her. I mean, she can just walk away without any information as long as the baby is healthy and the baby is under 60 days old.
And then I guess like going back to this recent case where the mother told, according to investigators, the mother had told them that the baby was a stillborn and she freaked out and didn't know what to do with the child's body. Like, so with the Moses law, like if a mother was to have a stillborn, she wouldn't, what would be the recommendation for her to do? I guess she wouldn't be able to drop off the child to the fire station or the 24-hour facility.
I think, in cases like that, it's not really written into law, but if that is something that's happened, all she has to do is, as you're saying, is go to one of the sites and tell them what happened. And then they will call in Child Protective Services and they will investigate and make sure, because they'll be able to tell if the baby was stillborn also, because it will have issues. But, that's a very extenuating circumstance, but I understand that too, because if a mother is delivering by herself, she doesn't know what's going on, but they can still go and get help. They need to get help because she probably needs help also.
And then I guess since it's been almost 2 years now since the Texas abortion ban, do you, John Hopkins, I think it was a study where they said there was a 13% increase of infant deaths or abandoned babies since the abortion ban. Do you think that this has any impact of why so many women are probably going this route?
I think the major thing is not that so much. I think it's a matter of not knowing. There's so many organizations that help a mother that's pregnant that does not feel like she can keep her child. There's numerous churches that have organizations, and of course, this one, but adoptive places and child protective services too. I mean, you can relinquish your child, but I think it's more of just not knowing what's available. I mean, we have several projects here in Victoria where I live, the Gabriel Project through the Catholic churches, all around the state. And they have a home, mothers can come and stay until they have their child, and they can make that choice whether they can keep the child or not. And that's up to them. And they get help throughout that. We have another organization here that is not the Gabriel Project, but another organization that has started a home where mothers that are pregnant can go and stay in the same option, and they can, stay there and then also get help if they decide to keep their child, to help get a job and all of that. So I think the major issue is people just aren't aware of all the different options. But the most important option is there's so many people out there that are looking to adopt children, and it's very difficult to adopt children. And so the thing is, like I said, what I really want to emphasize is this is not just saving a baby's life, it's saving a mother's life. Because even if a mother relinquishes her child, she's always going to wonder, where that child is. But if something happens to a child that you have and you lose that child, and it's something that was done incorrectly, you're going to never forgive yourself. And so we want to save both lives, the mother's life and the child's life, to have a better life. And so that's why we need to just, as you're doing, I mean, this is the major way for people to know is when something happens. Because back when we did the project in 1999, there had been a lot of abandonments. And once the word got out, and then every time a child was left and there was a story about it, that always brought more people that said they wanted to be adoptive parents. They wanted to also help child protective services to keep a child. And there's a lot of people out there that want to help. And I think there's just not enough knowledge of all of that.
And then before this law was proposed and the deaths that was being accounted for with the infant deaths, like what the age of the mother in particular, would these mostly be like undocumented mothers? Are they younger mothers, mothers who lack resources? Like who would be mostly, what kind of environment
It's,
would
it's
cause
just
this?
Yes, and it's all of the above. I mean, it's just someone that's in a desperate situation, whether, they're in a situation to where they're in an abusive relationship, or if someone's just very young and doesn't know what's going on. I mean, it's all of the above. And that's a question that I ask because there used to not really be too much. I mean, you didn't get numbers until after we passed the law, and then Child Protective Services is very good about keeping numbers. But it's all of them, because that was one of the questions I asked. So who should we need to target? Who are you trying to get to? It's all of the above, and sometimes it can be a mom that's a single mom that is divorced, has children, and she finds herself pregnant again. And what do you do? It's not one age group. It's not any particular race. It's all across the board from age to any and everyone that has been in a desperate situation.
And then as for like I guess since there has been an increase, since are you and other representatives are looking towards making other proposals to protect mothers and babies, as the Texas laws become stricter on abortion bans, and I mean providing more resources and just putting that out there, that information out there that mothers do have an option, that will not get them criminalized and or in trouble.
No, and I agree. No, interestingly enough, and when I talked to one of your reporters yesterday, um, we used to get Houston news in Victoria, but we don't anymore at San Antonio. And I told him I was not aware of what was going on in Houston because I had not seen any articles until I was called last week for a newspaper article of what was really going on. So I don't think people are really aware of what's really happening. And so this is so important that you're doing this. I mean, because this is what will start over again is something that needs to be addressed and what we can do to help. And also let the organizations that we work with that help mothers have them to be out there and say, we're looking for help for you, and that's what we need to get out. But what you're doing is very positive, and that's how this happens. And if this is going on again, we need to know, and we need to have more media talking about it, so it's something that can be addressed. Because there always, every time a child is abandoned, there are more people that step up that say they want to help, and they want to adopt, and they want people to know that they're to help.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess what advice would you give? Like there's a mother out there, a young mother, or whatever the description is, and she's pregnant, she's scared, she really don't know what to do. What would be your advice to her under this proposed law and her options?
Well, I think the first thing that she needs to do is look for options that are comfortable for her. There are a lot of organizations that will help a mother that's pregnant and doesn't know what to do, like the Gabriel Project and these other projects that are in communities. It's really a community base because every community is so different. And the way to get media out is so different, but every community has a lot of help. And so I would encourage anyone that's struggling with this is to call and look for help. You can go in and you can research, or you can call Child Protective Services too. But I think the most important thing is so many of the churches, even if you're not a member of the church, you can reach out and say, I need help. How can I get help? And they will help find those services in those places that the mom can go. And if she, cannot keep her child, that's perfectly fine, because there's so many adoption availabilities of people looking for children that want to adopt. So it's just reaching out and asking for help. And we all need help uh, at some time or another. And this is another issue that, someone's desperate, someone's scared, they need to reach out someplace they're comfortable, or they can go to a fire station that's got the sign and say, I need help. Tell me what I can do. But there's so many people out there. But like I said, just getting the media of what you're doing and letting people know that this is an issue, this will reinvigorate, because it will help people to say there's a problem again. We need to address it, and communities will address it. It's really a community thing.
And then for mothers who are undocumented and probably scared to get the help because they're in fear of because they are undocumented, what would you recommend for them? Is there a certain requirement for those mothers, or should they also follow the same process?
There are no requirements as far as being a citizen or not at all. This is just to save lives. And so, no, there are no requirements that you have to be a citizen. So this is not restricted. And also the other programs, the Bethany Project, and even, if they call like Texas Alliance for Life, I mean, there are places that they have that they know that they will take a mother in and help them to have their child, and then decide if they can keep it, or if they need to give it up for adoption, they will help them do that. But there's so many resources, but there are no barriers to anyone. This is for everyone.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to leave us with?
Well, I'm so glad that you reached out to me, because we really were not aware of what was going on at this point. And it's just very important that we get the word out there. And so anyone that can call my office, to my district office, capital office, and if they need any information, need any help, just please call us and let us know, because we need to work on this again. And with your help, it will really make a difference to get the word out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you.